And joining us now from East Palestine is consumer advocate and environmental activist Erin Brockovich. Tomorrow she'll be holding a town hall in the city, and it's really great to have you on. Just some background. Back in 1996, you were a major part of uncovering water poisoning in Hinckley, California. There was a lawsuit, and ultimately your efforts led to the largest payout at that time for a toxic tort injury settlement in U.S. history. It was $333 million back in 96. So tell us what you're hearing from residents there and what you hope to accomplish in East Palestine.
So, good morning. Thank you for having me on. And I've been hearing from community members since the train derailment happened, starting early on the morning of the 4th, and definitely been monitoring what was going on from that time until this time. And I have to tell you, in the 30 years I've been doing this, I don't think I've ever seen anything so mishandled and such lack of information coming to a community. And I worry for them. And I've been watching everything. I've been reading all of their emails. I hear their fear, their frustration. And one thing that I want to get across in our town hall, and believe me, there is a lot to talk about, what their future holds for them. This isn't just a one moment situation and, any kind of soundbite. This is going to be decades of cleanup, decades of monitoring their health, decades of working in soil vapor intrusion, and it's frightening for them. But what I want them to know is what I've learned in community after community after community in dealing with these disasters for 30 years.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions. Oh, there you are. Sorry.
Yeah.
Your audio dropped out. I got a couple of questions for you. Erin, first of all, what was missed? What was missed in terms of making sure the people of East Palestine understood they were being heard? Should they have been evacuated? Should more have been physically done? Or was it about making sure that they were communicated with and heard effectively?
It was immediately being communicated with. Not only do I hear you, I see you, I acknowledge you. And yes, they evacuated them for a short period of time, but did they bring them home too soon? And what I worry always gets missed is officials, agencies don't listen to what they are experiencing. When they come back and they tell you they are still smelling things, their tongue tingles, their lips are turning blue, their children have coughs, they have terrible headaches, and you're not listening to the very people on the ground that are being exposed and not further looking into the situation or even saying to them, we may need to evacuate again. Tell them the truth, whether it hurts or they don't want to hear it. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and I've learned in these communities, they will handle the truth because they can plan and be prepared for what's to come. But what they can't handle is the lie and the not showing up and sounding an all clear to protect your rear, yet they're still in jeopardy.
Ms. Brockovich, I'm unsure whether the tap water in Flint, Michigan is safe to drink even today. And it was several years ago when that happened. And I'm not sure when the cleanup will be complete where you were standing this morning. You mentioned decades of cleanup. But I am sure of one thing, that if this had happened in an affluent American suburb, we wouldn't be talking about so much delay in tending to the problem by the federal government. Is that your view?
Well, it certainly looks that way. I mean, in most of the situations I've been dealt with in your community, that I don't know if it's agency or actually the polluter themselves that think that they might be undereducated. They might not know all the information, that they think they can slide something by from them. And I've learned every single time these are the communities that will rise up. You know, they know things. It really comes from a common sense place. And I recall being back out in Hinckley and being told, you're not this, you're not that, you're not a doctor, you're not a scientist. What would you know? And it's like, you don't have to be any of that to be a human and to recognize two-headed frogs is wrong, green water is wrong, and these people are watching their animals die, the fish have died, their symptoms, they know, and they're coming from that perspective, and they're like screaming from the rooftops, can you see me? Can you hear me? And they still don't feel protected. And that is the biggest problem. We continue to do the same thing in how we respond to these environmental emergencies over and over and over again. And they're not effective. We have to move forward in a better way and become proactive with these communities, prevent these disasters, instead of just being reactive when they happen.
So, Ms. Brockovich, you obviously have a lot of experience with matters like these. What would be your advice right now to the people who perhaps are watching this, who live there, who live nearby, in terms of short-term and long-term, what they should be doing? Should they be entering any sort of agreement with the railway company, any sort of settlement? Should they feel like it's safe to come back to their homes? How would you counsel them?
Do not. In my opinion, my personal position, being a human with them in a situation like this, don't sign anything, and certainly don't sign anything from Norfolk Southern Railroad. They're not your friend. I mean, right now, they're the ones doing the testing. There should be independent testing. They're the ones that are running the show on their train derailment. And by the way, I'm hearing a lot from the employees of the railroad. I am hearing a lot and getting a lot of whistleblower information. Look, this rail had derailment zones on it, and they knew it. This company runs a terrible corporate model. They refer to it as the precision scheduled railroading, which deeply cuts into maintenance, deeply cuts into infrastructure, deeply cuts into going out and finding where these spots are that they knew existed here in this town, and they continue to fail to do anything about it. And these are the kind of things that people need to know going forward. They have a bad corporate model, profit over people, not your friend. Please don't sign anything. And this is a situation we may take in this moment. The municipal water is safe, but that's not the way it's going to be tomorrow. And these chemicals are going to migrate through the system for decades, impact many municipalities. We have to talk about well water that is oftentimes unregulated. We're going to have to monitor the public health and welfare. Maybe they should be having their blood drawn every 6 years, because they're not going to show the telltale signs of what's happened to them until into the future. And we've had this conversation, even on 9/11 and all the chemicals that rained down in that huge disaster, and everybody was safe. But look where they are today. This is what happens in these environmental situations. So you can't just say it's all safe and hunky-dory in the moment, because that's not what their future is going to be.
So that's what the people of East Palestine, Aaron, are being told right now is extremely invalidating, just like the people who worked in the pit after 9/11, many who came down with cancer and other illnesses after being told it was just fine, when your gut, when your basic human brain told you, no, it wasn't. No, I feel like I need to be wearing a mask. No, I feel like I need to be wearing a gas mask. I met those people. I was down there. I saw it, and I saw the disconnect between the EPA and the testing that was being done on the air and the reality that was in front of us. So I guess in closing, you're saying what everyone's feeling. Absolutely. And you've been through this. You've been through this experience of being invalidated by those who seem smarter than you. What is your message to the people of East Palestine, especially as you get ready to hold a rally there tomorrow?
So tomorrow we're going to be there giving them so much information, again, about fate and transport, water, the chemicals, what the future could be, all of that. And my message to them is one that we've talked about over and over again, is be your own eyes and ears. Don't let somebody from an agency or from Norfolk Railroad situation tell you that what you're experiencing isn't real. It's like, it's a huge gaslight on these people. They were here. They lived it. They breathed it. They have to return to it. They're having symptoms, but you completely disregard it. And that is the thing that makes communities so mad. Tell them the truth, even if it's going to be scary or hurtful about what the future might be. They'll deal with that. But what they can't deal with is that you can't see them. You won't talk to them. You keep feeding them a bunch of BS, and they're scared. And it's a horrible situation for our agencies or anyone to be doing to our communities. They're here. They're living it. They're breathing it. Pay attention to them. Listen to them. They are the ones that should be controlling the narrative about what happened, not some agency or some polluter who's doing all the testing, controlling the narrative. This happened to them. They need to be
100%.
seen and they need to be heard.
Consumer advocate and environmental activist Erin Brockovich, I completely hear you, and thank you for being in East Palestine there representing really the people. Thanks for being on this morning.